Welcome to NinonSpeaks. I'm Ninon de Rosa, and of course, you know, well, you might not know because I'm on Zoom, so how would anybody know anyway? I'm actually in Vegas, and I have a fabulous guest, and as I don't know if you all know out there either, you probably don't know anything about me, actually. I don't pre-interview my guests, so she's looking at me saying, what on earth is she going to ask me? How does she know what to ask me? How does she know what to do? Well, that's my profession. Anyway, her name is Eileen Grubba.
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 Yeah.
Eileen Grubba, and she looks amazing. I know she's an actress, and she's a writer, and she's all the above. And she looks, you know something, some people, Eileen, look talented, and you look talented.
Oh, thank you.
You've got that look, that fabulous look. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good. And where are you actually? What part of the world are you?
I'm in Los Angeles on the edge of Beverly Hills.
Oh, the edge of which edge?
The edge that is between
Woodland?
West Hollywood and Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills and West Hollywood?
Yeah.
I know exactly where you are. I used to live up one. I lived on Mulholland Drive.
Oh,
okay. I lived at 7534 Mulholland Drive and overlooked all Hollywood and the Hollywood Hills. It was beautiful. And I used to jog up and down Runyon Canyon. I'm sure you know Runyon Canyon.
I do. I went up Franklin Canyon today.
Oh, you are Franklin? Yeah, that's always a good bypass. So how are you, Eileen?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Well, good now.
And so you're in Vegas, right?
Yes, I'm in jolly old Vegas, and it's all coming together, and everything's wonderful, and the people are amazing. The entertainment's coming together, and it's just like it's happening, and everybody cannot wait to get out. That every single, like every venue is sold out, which is gorgeous. It's great.
Wow.
You know,
Cool. That's good to hear.
Yeah,
we're coming back to life.
Absolutely. So what is your main thing that you like to do?
For my profession, my main thing is acting. That's number one. I've spent 30 years working hard at it. And number two is writing, which I have a lot of fun with. But I also really enjoy it because I've had, you know, a hell of a life. And so
sounds like it. Franklin Canyon and Runyon Canyon, you've had a great life, let me tell you, because that's where all the action is. That's Hollywood action and drag.
I have a lot of things to write about, so I have a lot of things to say. So I enjoy the writing very much, but all of that to say the acting is my number one thing. It's what I've worked the hardest for, and it's what I enjoy the most.
And if you've been in it for 30 years, that means you must have done quite a lot. Have you been on any of the sitcoms?
Sitcoms have not really hired me. I think I've been on one or two of them. I get hired a lot for dramas. I love comedy though, and I have a lot of fun with it. I just haven't gotten, you know how our industry kind of puts you in a niche.
Yes, that you kind of get a job, and then you get the second job is the same as the one you just did. Now, all of a sudden, you're characterized as this person.
Yes.
And it's funny because, funny you bring that up, because a lot of the actors and actresses don't want to be characterized as anything. They want to be able to take on all these different parts. How do you break that?
You know what? I think you have to get really famous to break it. Then you have the power. But you know, for the working actor, it's kind of good to get typecast because then you will work. Yes,
you'll always get a job. You'll always have a. But then, as an actress, which you are, and you absolutely love as your first, don't you want to experience other roles and other things?
Absolutely. I beg for it. I wish I could get in for sitcoms. I wish I could get in for different kinds of roles. And the longer I'm in the business, the more they're starting to squeak out into other arenas. However, the roles that I do get the most are the ones that, you know, a lot of other people wish they could get because they're the super edgy, wild, fun roles, you know.
Yeah. Well, because you're that type of person. That's why. And you know, it's a funny thing because once you've kind of done one role like that, and producers, word goes around to directors and producers, yes, she's on time, yes, you want her to play this role, yes, you want her to be funny, yes, you want her to be serious. And when you get that you're always on time and you're always doing everything, they can rely on you. And
That's
a
true.
lot of these actors, you can't rely on them because they sometimes don't turn up.
That's true. And I've never not turned up, even if it was a free job or a stage reading, or I always show up, and I always show up on time. And I understand the demands of the business, so I really respect people's time. And I'm one of those on the minute people, like I'm there when I'm supposed to be there.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And
so what's going on in Hollywood? Is it back together again? The studios, it's been tough in Los Angeles.
You know, it seems that, I don't know how to say this without getting myself in more trouble, but this industry seems to be more fear-based than the rest of the world, and so they're slower to open up anything. And the thing that's dragging our industry behind is my own union, the Screen Actors Guild. They keep extending all these restrictions, which are making productions very challenged, and it's causing the cost of production to go way up. And they're going to extraordinary measures for things that don't seem to really matter anymore. So I wish and hope that the Screen Actors Guild stops playing that game, because they're keeping a lot of people out of work, which is not nice, given that they dropped literally all the retired people in our industry off of their health plan in the middle of a pandemic, and everybody
nice.
else and raised the rates for everybody else. Yeah, there's a lot of battles going on about it. And so I'm hoping that our union wakes up and realizes that the rest of the world is moving on, like you were saying in Vegas, and every city is dropping mandates, even Hawaii, even Canada, even New York, and LA even. And yet
even LA, yeah, when you say LA, because LA has been really, really tight.
They've been really tough. It's been a brutal 2 years, and I've spent most of my time sitting in my apartment writing and not going anywhere.
At least you managed to
do something. Shows up.
But at least you managed to do something. You've managed to sort of, okay, so I can't do this, so now I can go into writing, which is my second thing, which is now becoming my first thing. Yeah. So at least you've utilized the time, and you've been able to do something. How many books did you write?
Actually, since the pandemic, I've been in 3 books. Wrote for 2 of them, and one had a chapter about me. And then, but they were compilation books that I was in, and then or that I wrote for. And then I got a staff writing job for a children's show for Lego. So I've been writing episodes of television for children and rewrites on one of my features, which is the hardest thing I've ever written in my lifetime, because it was so close to home, and it took a lot of years of research, because it's based on a very painful piece of history. And then I had to create the characters, since none of them lived and no one's alive to talk about it. So, but it was one of those screenplays that was so painful to write that I would be in tears every time I was working on it.
Why was it
now painful? It's done.
Yeah, why was it painful to write it? Was it because of the story, or did it relate to some part of your life?
Both.
Oh,
both.
Why?
Because it is a very painful piece of history that not a lot of people know about, but it was before the Holocaust. Oh. And I don't think a lot of people know that the Nazis learned how to mass murder by killing babies in hospitals, children who had medical challenges and disabilities. And yes, I was a child in a hospital with medical challenges and disabilities. And so it was so painful for me to write, because I channeled, I went through a lot of this as a child. And, I also had an amazing mom who died way too many years ago, 30 years ago. And when I remember the way she fought for me as a child, I knew that somewhere there in Germany, there had to be women like my mom, like me, who would have fought, who would have laid down their lives to save these children. And so So I wrote about it, and it was very, very painful. But because of this pandemic being stuck in my computer and in my apartment, I finally finished the screenplay, and then I went out and pitched it, and I won a big competition. And
oh wow!
And the first time I ever pitched it, and then I got an amazing producer attached. And
somebody we know. Can you mention their name?
Well, his name is Hunt Lowry. He's been in the industry a very long time, but he did film like The Last of the Mohicans and A Time to Kill. And if you go all the way back in time, he was a producer on Airplane and lots of movies through the years. The reboots of Rambo and Eraser, and he's done a lot of films. And so he was at the competition when I pitched my project, and now
did you know him at all? Did you know
I
him?
never knew him before that weekend. I sort of knew his sister, not well, but she's a casting director in our town. But I didn't know him. And so I'm very excited, and that's why it was so painful to write.
Do you think it was the reason that they bought it and the reason that it got sold so fast? You said first time around it got sold. Do you think it's because of your childhood that you were able to put more realistic features in it and what actually kind of happened, because you knew what happened as a child, you knew how it worked? And so you could relate that to the young kids
to that time period.
Germany.
Yeah, and I know what it's like to be a terrified kid in the hospital, and I know what it's like to have people treat you like you don't have a right to live because there's something wrong with you. And what a lot of people don't understand is that this has been carried on through, centuries, and also into today. We're still doing it. And one of the reasons that it was so important for me to write it was because I don't want another child ever have to be treated that way.
Yeah. What may I ask what you had? Are you able to talk about what illness you had?
Sure, I can tell you. Nobody wants to hear about it these days, but I'll tell you. I was less than 5 years old and got vaccines for school. And my body had an immune system reaction to the vaccine and attacked my spine. And I almost died. I ended up paralyzed from the waist down with a permanent spinal cord injury from C1 to C4 on my neck. I almost didn't live. Then I did. Then they told my parents I'd never walk again. But like I told you, I'm hiking mountains. So I have a lot of the same challenges as a spinal cord injury person. But I walk and I hike.
So you know the truth. So you know the truth. You know exactly how it worked, how cruel people were, how people looked at you, and how they judged you. And then you got to go to school, and you got to get all the kids from school that are going to throw things at you every day and
knock you over because you're trying to learn how to walk, and they think it's fun to dive into your legs and knock you over. And yeah, there's a lot of cruelty through the world, and even throughout my years in the entertainment industry, there's been a lot of cruelty because I move differently, Yeah. I just move differently, and it's not terrible.
But that kind of makes your character. I mean, you have a character. I always think, I've got an accent. I come from England, and everybody says they love my accent, but maybe they're just being nice. But I can't help it. That's what I got. I can't do a damn thing about it.
You said it. You said it.
It is what it is.
Exactly. It is what it is. And there's nothing I can do about it. And that's what I want people to understand about these children. They have challenges. There's nothing they can do about it. It is who they are. And they should be allowed to be proud of who they are, regardless of their scars, their challenges, their differences, like everybody else in the world. I try to tell people, imagine if that's you, one day you get in a car accident, or you get hit by a truck, or you have a COVID wipe out half your body. Who knows what it could be? And you're suddenly dealing with challenges. Do you want people to treat you now like you don't have a right to exist? Or do you want people to treat you like the same person that you are, who has passion and dreams and
the same as anybody else? We all have, inside every single body and behind every single face is a dream. There's a little dream. There's something that I had a children's show for 16 years, so I know all about children. Yes.
Oh.
Actually, it wasn't children. It was more from 12 years old to 18, 19, about that age. And I dealt with a lot of children with ADD and ADHD. And the stories I can tell you about that episodes and those episodes are amazing, because they're giving these kids, what is this adrenaline stuff, whatever it is.
Oh, that Ritalin, drugs.
Yeah, the drugs. And then they've got the people that want the organic drugs, and such a fight for the mums. The mums and the dads have such a fight to, because they say, well, they disrupt the school and they do this. Well, some kids are just kind of, they've got energy. I mean, they don't need a pill.
Yeah. But in younger generations, people used to, try to control those kids or try to hurt them, beat them, whatever they did to keep them down. And I've always, as a child, been like, well, why not just encourage it, correct it, guide that energy, and maybe they'll rule the world one day. Maybe they'll be president. Maybe they'll, who knows, start a rocket ship company. Who knows what they'll do if you let them fly.
What do they say about Elon Musk? I mean, they talk about Elon Musk. There you go. There's the richest man in the world, absolutely, totally brilliant. But the beautiful side of this guy, and I've always liked him, always, I've never cared what people say, is he gives. And he's now giving, he's now giving to this war. He's now doing as much as he possibly can for no reason, for no motivation. That's just this kind of heart. I wish there was more people like that. Then we wouldn't have a war. Then we wouldn't have what we have. So let's get back to your movie industry. So what have you got coming up? Anything exciting coming up?
Exciting things coming up. Well, I just had 2 films that have been out in the festival circuits around the world that they're both shorts, like 18-minute shorts or less, and they've been winning awards all over the world. So one of them, we're going to try to turn it into a TV drama. Okay. And then this Life Unworthy project, the one I just told you about, that's set in 30s Germany, it's being set up. We're going out to big directors. So that's where we're at, and I'm praying, because that's the most important project for me. And I'm doing, little bits of this and that on television with TV shows and stuff, but I'm shooting for much bigger things. After all these years and all this hard work, I am trying to still get this industry to understand that I can do bigger things. Do you
think you were a little inhibited because of your illness and different things that happened to you, and you say you don't walk the same as everybody else and you do things differently? So, because I had a funny childhood too, so I was also in the same position mentally, not physically. Yours was more physically, which became mental as well. Mine was just mental, and it was very tough for me, extremely tough to go out there and gain that confidence. So do you think you've gained the confidence by the people that have turned around and chosen you to do this part and to take it on, that have believed in you?
I think that every time somebody strongly believed and stood up for me and let me work, I made them very glad they did, because I always show up with everything I've got, all guns blazing, and often those roles would expand. But I believe that the confidence that I gained is because I've literally worked harder than any 20 actors put together through many years. I've never stopped working. 7 days a week I work. I never stop. It's all I do.
So as you were saying, so you've actually earned where you are, and I understand that 100%, because I've always worked. I've had to work twice as hard as everybody else to get where I need to get to understand. And people say, "Oh, Ninon, you're so lucky," and I'm thinking, "Yeah, sure."
There's no luck involved. It's a lot of knuckles to the grindstone and endless sleepless nights, but when you log as many hours on the stage of the Actors Studio, working with Academy and Emmy winners and working and trying everything, you gain a lot of belief in yourself. Yes. You gain a lot of confidence, because you can handle anything. I've never shown up and doubted what I was capable of.
No.
Because I've done my work.
Yeah. You knew you could do it.
You always knew that.
Did you practice at home, and also did you take acting lessons?
Oh, I've trained all my career, and I continue to train when we're not in a pandemic. Actually, on pandemic still, we were doing it on Zoom. With one of my greatest mentors, Alan Miller, who kept teaching, and a lot of the classes through the Actors Studio were online. And so I kept working in addition to the writing, and we also started creating little projects over Zoom. And so I always keep busy with my work, and so I feel like I'm always ready. And right now I've got a little recurring role on This Is Us, so I still have another episode to do.
Wonderful. Are you on any of these Netflix series that they've sort of put together on Netflix? Have you started any of those? Because everybody's kind of doing that.
I'm in The Politician, one episode, which is on Netflix, and I'm in a movie that's on Netflix called, I forgot, they changed the name so many times I don't remember what it's called.
That's difficult.
I can't remember. If you look up my name on Netflix, you'll find it. But I'm always doing something, I would say. But I'm hoping the industry really opens up now and we can get back to work. Get back to work.
What sort of part, you said you wanted to get bigger and better. What sort of part do you have in mind? You know, it's like I look at myself and I want to be there and I want to do this and I want to make it better and better and better, but this is my goal. What's your goal, or who do you look up to say that's who I want to be? Well, not exactly you want to be yourself, but I want to be in that part. I want to play that part. I want people to believe me. Who do you look up to for that?
Inspired by Meryl Streep, of course. I would love to do the kind of roles she's gotten to pull off, you know, and
yes.
Who am I just thinking of that's gone right out of my brain that I really, really want to do the kind of roles she plays? Kate Winslet.
Oh, okay. You're going way high up there, and I can see you playing that, and you feel you have the confidence to be able to play that part and do that.
I have no doubt that I could. Yeah, I know that I could meet anyone in this industry on the screen and hold my own. I know that. I've done my work.
You've done your work, so you're confidence within yourself.
Yeah.
As anybody coming out there, especially the young ladies are coming out there as wanting to be actress, how can they get that feeling? How can they get that walking on stage, as I say, well, not exactly on the stage, but walking on set, stage, whatever it's going to be, with all the confidence, but also you have to know your work.
You have to know your work. For example, I'll give you an example of one time where I was tested beyond my scope of experience. I was like, wow, am I going to be able to pull this off? And the situation was this. I was covering for a role on the stage at the Fountain Theater. I had to cover 4 shows over Thanksgiving weekend, the lead female character. No rehearsals. They never let me go into the rehearsals. The director never even met me in person besides the audition. The actors weren't available to rehearse before the thing. I had 1 half rehearsal before going up in an immensely emotional, powerful role with a whole lot of dialogue and timing. And at the time, I also had the closest person in my life dying, and my brother's young wife dying on different coasts. So I was immensely stressed at the time. And my brain was very scattered because, you know, the person I loved the most in life was dying.
Yes.
And so I got to come and watch a few of the shows, but I never got to rehearse. But I knew my work. And when I asked for any kind of direction, all I got was copy the other person that was doing the role. I'm like, I'm not copying anybody. You know, I've been working I've been working in this town for a very long time. I'm not copying anyone else. And besides, the character's life experience was so close to home for me. Yes. Really close to home. So I did my work and I invited all my Actors Studio people. And Barbara Bain is a great friend and mentor, and Alan Miller and all these wonderful people from the Actors Studio came out to see it, including the man I was telling you that was dying. He showed up. It was the last time he saw me on the stage. And afterwards, they met me outside, and I don't think a single one of them didn't have tears running down their face because I put my life into that role.
Yeah.
And
but you could relate to it, though. You could relate to the role, so that's why you could play it so well. Wow.
And also because I had trained so hard for so many years at the Actors Studio, so many times jumped up on a dime when they had a cancellation and got up and did stuff when I wasn't really fully rehearsed. And I just got so used to being able to be the girl who fills in every time there was a an opening. And so I just did a whole play like that, and it worked, and it moved the audiences, and the house was packed. And after that, I was like, okay, I have faith in myself that I will show up no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, I know I'll show up for me. I can't count on anyone else really in this town, but I can count on me to show up for me.
You know, it's funny you say that, because that's one of my teaching things. I do a lot of teaching and helping people out there, one-on-ones. And the one thing I try to let them know that you've got to take care of you, and until you are in the right place. And if you're not in the right place and you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else, and you can't do other things. You've got to make sure that you're grounded, and you know who you are, you know why you are, you know everything about you. But you have to do that first. You can't take care of somebody, like you can't do a role and then think afterwards, well, it was that role, not that role. It's got to be the first one you think of, because it's got to be what you're portraying. How do you manage to get into a role, or do you play a lot of roles that are kind of geared towards your life?
I try every kind of different role. You wouldn't believe, I mean, at the Actors Studio for a lot of years, I was playing a lot of those Marilyn Monroe kind of roles, or Meryl Streep kind of roles, and all the wild and crazy challenging roles. I played them all, and I've tried everything. Earlier asked, what do I really want to do? One day I really want to be on a lighthearted romantic comedy that's a lot of fun, or a fun comedy.
So because I haven't had it. Okay, so if they're not choosing you one, why don't you write one?
Well, I've written two.
Oh, okay, I've written two. Okay.
And I've got to get them sold.
I was going to say, anything happened to them yet? Do you try to sell them with you playing the lead?
I often will write myself as the second lead in most things, because I know they're always going to say they need a bigger name. So I try to write myself as the second instead of the first lead, so that when they say, well, we'll have to have a name, I'll say, well, fine, give him the lead role.
I'm going to give you a little advice. I'm going to tell you something right now, and I have no right to probably do that, but I'm going to do it anyway.
I'll take it.
Write yourself as the lead.
Okay.
You're already giving people the message of being a second person.
Yeah.
You're putting that in there as a second person. Don't do that. Let them choose. If you got guts enough to write yourself as the lead, you got guts to play it.
Yeah, that's true.
So that would be my little bit of advice. Now we've come to kind of the end of this interview, which has been absolutely fabulous. I've learned so much, and it's great for our audience out there, and also to get you out there as well. Now, how can anybody get in touch with you?
Well, I'm easy to find online by my name. I'm on IMDb. If anybody from the industry is trying to find me, that all my reps are listed there. And I do have a website, eileengrubba.com, and I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Eileen Grubba, Grubba.
Absolutely amazing.
I'm easy to find.
Absolutely. She's got herself out there. She earned that. She earned her title. She earned everything. She's been very dedicated to what she has done and what she is still doing. And now I want to let everybody out there to cast her as the lead in their next movie. Absolutely. I mean, she's got a great personality. Look at her. She's got a great personality. She's absolutely fabulous. Thank you to my audience out there for watching, and also for, I'd like to thank Maria Pureza also, because she's the one that finds all my talent and does everything. Also, her production company, Social Media Shows, is amazing. And of course, I'm Ninon de Rosa, and we shall have our next guest on next week sometime. And you've been absolutely amazing, Eileen. And thank you so much for gracing our show. It's been amazing. And
thanks for having me, Ninon. So nice to speak with you.
You're wonderful. I love you. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye to my audience. Bye.
Bye.